How would you like to travel to a land that has been idolized in films? How would you like to experience clashing swords and ancient customs of samurai? To travel to a country that has combined modern and traditional culture into a unique structure? Today's guest will talk about these and other unique experiences which he encountered on his recent trip to Japan, a nation surrounded by the past. The Humanities Communications Art Department at Nora Community College presents The New Directors, the show that introduces you to television's future writers, directors, and personalities. And now join your host, Jessica Thibault, to meet the next new director.
Thank you for joining us for today's edition of The New Directors. All the people involved with this program are students in television production course and are directing, switching, controlling audio, operating cameras, and acting as talent for the first time today. The guests you're about to meet are students who, when not on camera, are behind the scenes working hard to bring this program to you with as few mistakes as possible. Each student will write and direct 4 different productions. This program will give them the chance to talk about themselves, the productions they've completed, and give you the chance to get to know them and watch their progress throughout the semester. Our guest today is a person who's traveled to many different lands and has experienced a multiple of interesting cultures. He also has a keen interest in trying new things and meeting new people. Now, I would like you to meet our guest today, Sean M. Durrett.
Nice to meet you.
So we know that you got to travel to the mystic land of Japan. Can you tell us a few things, or the most interesting places that you've been?
It was a great trip I went to. The flight was long. It was like a 13-hour flight. Other than that, like once arriving, there was so much to do. I didn't even know what to try at first. We stayed in Tokyo for a day, but then we went to Kyoto, which used to be where the Imperial Palace was. That was the capital before Tokyo. It was very interesting. It was like a combination of the old ways with the modern. So like you could be walking around and you see a shrine next to like this huge like complex that looks like it's from the future. It was shocking. I have to admit, for a place that's pretty clean, you never see a trash can. It was the weirdest thing. You walk around and you have like garbage in your hand, but there's no trash cans. That's one of the things I take back from being there. But besides that, you know, it's the train systems. After being like in America, the train system's kind of like, you know, in Japan there's like 4 different trains you could take. You could take the JR, you could take the subway, you can take the Tokyo line, you can take the bullet train to like different parts. It was an interesting trip. One of my favorite things about Japan was the culture, and one of my favorites is Pokemon and mangas. It's their comic books and video game types of things. Japan's also split up into different districts. Some of the places I were was in Akihabara, which is major for commercialism, you know, like TVs and electronics and manga. Others was Ginza, which is very high fashion, sort of like Prague. The place I stayed at in the Ritz-Carlton was Roppongi. Beautiful. Lovely gardens, lovely everything. Had great culture to it. Besides checking out these districts and checking out the shopping, I went to different parts. I went to Mitaka, which is sort of like a little shaded district, like for a community. And it has one of my favorite directors' museum, Ghibli, Studio Ghibli Museum. It was beautiful to see some of his art and some of his stylings. The food was delicious. It was one of my favorite things to eat, sushi. I went to Jiro's, who's a master sushi chef. It was very expensive, $300 a plate. Yeah, I know. But my favorite thing about going to Japan was seeing the cherry blossoms. It was my favorite thing. It's a recurring theme there. They literally have huge festivals just showing the cherry blossoms. It's beautiful. I love the culture. The shrines were my favorite part too. I love experiencing like this place that's like worship, and you like see like people selling things, selling food. It was great. I loved it. I went to Iuno, which is a district. It has the greatest zoo there. It's one of the first zoos that actually raise pandas in captivity. and actually first one to reproduce in captivity. It's 130 years old. It's one of my favorites. I really want to go back there, and I'm thinking about moving there and living there for 2 years to teach English. It's something I've always wanted to try. But if you ever get the chance, literally, if you ever do, you should go there. It's great.
Could you tell us why you decided to take the TV production course?
I took the TV production course because, one, I've loved film. Ever since I was like 5 years old, I've watched film. I've watched Jurassic Park since I was a kid. I've watched scary movies since I was a kid. I've just loved everything about them. The great way that you can lose yourself in them and just react to these characters. I also took it because I idolized a lot of directors. I idolize Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, some of my favorites. Some Japanese directors that I liked is Akira Kurosawa, who idolized Ford, famous Western director, who took some of his stylings into his samurai movies. And then, of course, Miyazaki, who's in charge of the Studio Ghibli. He was also another reason why I got into film, because I loved his imaginative ways of creating sort of the mystic with sort of spiritualism. It was beautiful. The first movie I ever saw with him was Spirited Away, which is a touching story that you should just watch just to experience it. And I kind of really wanted to go into film, so that's really why I wanted. And I knew nothing about it. I never took photography. I never took anything. So it was like, you know what? I have a chance. Might as well try it now.
So what are some of the most useful things that you've learned in this course?
Well, I've learned a lot, but some of the most important things I've learned in this course is simplicity. It's a great way to capture what you truly want to say. And it also taught me, with simplicity, how to get rid of nasty things that you don't want to be seen. Like you have a billboard, you can easily cover that up, or you could change the angle so that you just focus in on the object that you want. I also learned about rule of thirds. It's very important how to actually frame and capture a shot. You don't want it to be centered. That's just bad. It feels claustrophobic and terrible. It's not how great directors do it, and I, for one, am glad I learned it. But besides that, I also learned about the 180 line. Very important when you're shooting, because if you go over that line and you start shooting a different shot, it disrupts the continuity, and it looks bad. It looks like you jumped to like a different area. It's weird. I also learned about emotional lines. I suspected about them, but I never really truly knew what they were. Like, I didn't know what an S or a C line was. I didn't know that those were lines of grace that showed tranquility and all that stuff. I didn't know vertical lines were like showing power and, strength. I didn't know that kind of stuff. Horizontals, parallel. I didn't know they all carried emotions. And some of the important things I learned in this course were those lines, was rule of thirds, simplicity, how to actually capture a decent shot. And that's what I'm always proud about.
Can you please tell us about some of your projects, like your learning project, your sequence, your winter project, and your orange project that you created?
Yeah, I can. My learning project was sort of my first one. It showed me and shocked me how hard it is to actually shoot something. We had a very limited time to do this, so we were like rushing it and stuff like that. But it taught me how to do proper sort of the beginning of a sequence, how to capture different angles, how to capture wide angles, how to do over-the-shoulder shots, how to do frontal shots, POV shots. It was great for doing that kind of thing. I was glad to learn this stuff, and that's why I feel like it should be one of my first projects. Consider. But yeah, my next was my sequence, the actual true sequence, and I had a family friend help me. She and her girlfriend helped me film it, and I took the actions that I took in the first learning project and put it into there, how to cut in on action, how to do a perfect open and seating shot like that. Watch, perfect shot right there. Then this came my winter project. This is where I did zoom ins, did Poor Man's Dissolve, I did Lines of Grace. There's going to be Poor Man's Dissolve. Well, it was supposed to be there, but fast on that one, huh? The Orange Project was the next one. This was my last one, and I feel it's one of my best ones. It took me a while to get an actor for it, but I did decent. I used framing, I used emotional lines, I used angles. I did great shots, like capturing like action of him opening the door, feeling the emotion. It was truly a great experience doing the Orange Project. I call it Wish Upon an Orange.
You mentioned a variety of things that you learned within this course. Oh, actually, you mentioned that you had a best project.
Yes, I did.
Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, my best project had to be the Orange Project. It just truly, I felt something for it when I was doing it. I felt it was my best work. And in my opinion, it's just everything I did with it, it's my whole learning from this course, and I put it into this one project. I tried different things. I tried to capture dissolves that made it look like time was moving forward. I tried to do movement with the camera with the tripod to show like action sequence besides just doing cut in on actions. Like I did multiple shots of him trying to open the door. It was great. Close up on the hand, close up on the door. Then I did a shot from the other side to show him like breathing, to show he was like afraid. Some of my best work, I feel. And I had help from some of the students in this course being part of my acting. It was great. That's why I was so glad to do it. I'm so glad to show off my work. Just looking at it, you can see it's truly like something I did good. I feel like it was good.
You mentioned a variety of things that you've learned in this course. So what were the most interesting and important things that you learned, and how are you going to put them to use?
Probably, there are two important things I've learned. Rule of thirds. Yeah. Without rule of thirds, you can't do a proper shot. Because if you're not getting them on the lines, on those points, it's just not worth it. It's not a good shot. You wouldn't take like a wedding photo without doing this properly, right? And the others was emotional lines. I truly feel those are, besides the rule of thirds, those are the best because it truly shows emotion. You don't even need to say anything and it conveys emotion. That is what I love about them. And I feel they're the most important. And how I'll use this, next time I go abroad, when I move to Japan, when I go to France, when I go to other countries that I've been to, I'm going to use these to capture good shots, to do good movies. And if I want to be a good director like some of my idols, like Steven Spielberg, like Akira Kurosawa, I need to learn these rules. And rule of thirds and emotional lines are prevalent throughout all their movies. And it's very important that I learn these.
Today we got to meet someone who's traveled to many places in the world and has experienced many different cultures with these travels. With a recent trip to Japan, we wonder where he's going to go next. I'd like to thank our guest, Sean M. Durat, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
We hope you enjoyed meeting one of television's future directors, and we hope that you'll continue to join us each week to watch our progress. Thank you and good day.
This has been The New Directors with your host, Jessica Tebow, directed by Tiffany Grandison. I'm your announcer, Miranda Capagrosso, and this has been The New Directors, a Norwell Community College student production.